Have you ever looked in your rearview mirror and realized something behind you wasn't supposed to exist? I've been driving rideshare in Manhattan for almost 12 years. That's long enough to see just about everything the city can throw at you. Drunks vomiting out the window, tourists trying to pay with foreign currency, couples fighting so violently in the back seat that I had to pull over and tell them to get out. I've picked up Wall Street executives, celebrities, exhausted nurses, off-duty cops, and people who were clearly running from something they didn't want to talk about. After a decade behind the wheel, very little surprises me anymore. Or at least that's what I believed before that stormy night. It was late autumn. The kind of night where rain doesn't fall so much as a tack. Sheets of water slammed against my windshield while my wipers fought a losing battle. The weather app had been warning about severe storms all day, but in Manhattan, that usually doesn't stop people from going out. The city doesn't sleep. It doesn't slow down. Not really. But around midnight, I started noticing something strange. The streets were empty. Not completely empty, but wrong. Traffic lights changed over intersections with no cars waiting. Sidewalks that should have been crowded contained only a handful of hurried pedestrians. The usual chorus of horns, sirens, and distant shouting seemed muted beneath the storm. I remember glancing at the clock and feeling unsettled. Friday nights were usually some of my busiest shifts. Instead, I'd spent nearly 40 minutes without a ride request. That never happened, not in Manhattan. I considered ending my shift early. The weather was getting worse and business was dead. Then the app chimed. One final pickup, 7 minutes away. I almost declined it. Something about the whole night felt off. But 12 years of habit kicked in. One more fare. Then I'd head home. The pickup location was on a narrow side street lined with older buildings. The rain intensified as I approached. Visibility dropped so badly that the world beyond my headlights looked like a gray curtain. I pulled up to the curb and checked the address. Correct location, no passenger. I waited. 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3. I was about to cancel when movement caught my eye. Someone stood on the sidewalk. I hadn't seen them approach. One moment the sidewalk was empty. The next, they were there, standing motionless beneath the rain. No umbrella, no coat, just standing. The figure stepped forward and opened the rear passenger door. They climbed inside without saying a word. The door shut. The interior light flickered briefly. I caught only a vague impression. Pale skin, dark clothing, wet hair. Evening, I said. No response. Not unusual. Some passengers didn't want conversation. I started the trip and pulled away from the curb. The destination was nearly 40 minutes away. Strange. Most rides that late stayed within the city. This one led far beyond my usual routes. I checked my mirror automatically. Years of driving had made it second nature. That's when I felt the first crack in my composure. The back seat was empty. I frowned, then looked again. The passenger was sitting directly behind me. I could see them clearly by turning my head. Yet in the rearview mirror, there was nothing. No face, no silhouette, just empty upholstery. My stomach tightened. I adjusted the mirror. Maybe the angle had shifted. Still nothing. I looked over my shoulder. The passenger remained seated, hands folded in their lap, completely still. I looked back at the mirror. Empty. A nervous laugh escaped me. There had to be an explanation. Rain on the glass, bad lighting, exhaustion, anything. I focused on the road. A few minutes later, curiosity got the better of me. I glanced again, still empty. The passenger hadn't moved, yet the mirror reflected only vacant space. My pulse quickened. For the first time in years, I felt genuinely afraid while driving. I decided to make conversation, anything to break the tension. Crazy weather tonight. Silence. I tried again. Not many people out. Nothing. The passengers simply stared forward. I could feel their gaze on the back of my head. Eventually, I stopped trying. The storm continued to rage. Rain hammered the roof. Thunder rolled overhead. Yet the further we drove, the stranger things became. The roads remained nearly deserted. Even major avenues looked abandoned. Few cars, few people, hardly any signs of life. It felt less like Manhattan and more like a city after an evacuation order. Then my GPS began acting strangely. The route flickered. The map froze. The screen went black. A second later, it rebooted. I muttered a curse. Technology fails. That happens. But when the map reappeared, our location wasn't shown. Instead, the screen displayed a message. Arrival estimated. Unknown. I stared at it, then looked back at the road. My hands were beginning to shake. That's when the passenger finally spoke. Their voice sounded wrong. Not deep, not high, just distant, as if they were speaking from the far end of a tunnel. "You've driven this route before." It wasn't a question. I swallowed. "No, I don't think so." Silence returned. Then, "You have." Every hair on my arm stood upright. I knew with absolute certainty that I'd never seen this passenger before. Yet something about their voice stirred a memory, something buried, something old. I kept driving. The rain gradually weakened. The thunder faded. An unnatural fog began replacing the storm. It rolled across the streets in thick white waves. Streetlights disappeared inside it. Buildings became ghostly shapes. The city no longer felt familiar. Then I noticed something impossible. We passed the same intersection 3 times. The same broken traffic signal. The same newspaper box. The same graffiti-covered storefront. I knew because I had specifically looked at them each time. The GPS remained blank. The streets twisted through the fog. And somehow we kept returning to the same place. My breathing became shallow. I finally pulled the car to the curb. "I think there's a problem." The passenger didn't respond. I turned around fully. For the first time, I got a good look at them. The face seemed ordinary at first. Pale, expressionless, rain-soaked hair hanging over their forehead. But the longer I looked, the more wrong it became. The features appeared blurred, like a photograph losing focus. I couldn't remember their eye color, couldn't remember the shape of their nose, even while staring directly at them. My mind refused to hold the details. Then they smiled, not widely, not maliciously, just enough to reveal that they understood my fear. "You remember now." The words hit me like ice water. And suddenly, I did, years earlier, long before rideshare apps existed, long before I'd become a driver. I had been involved in an accident, a terrible one. I was younger, driving home after an overnight shift, exhausted, rainy weather, poor visibility. I remembered hydroplaning through an intersection. I remembered headlights, a scream, then impact. The police investigation ruled it an accident. The pedestrian died instantly. I hadn't been charged. Everyone told me it wasn't my fault. Eventually, life moved on. Or so I thought. The passenger's smile widened slightly. Recognition flooded through me. Not because I remembered their face, because I remembered where I'd seen them, in the crosswalk, seconds before the collision. My blood ran cold. "No," the passenger said nothing. Outside, the fog thickened. The city vanished completely. There was only my car, the empty road, and the thing sitting behind me. I grabbed my phone. No signal. I tried restarting the app. The ride information had disappeared. No passenger name, no destination, no trip history, nothing. The account itself seemed gone, as if the ride never existed. I looked back again. The passenger remained motionless, waiting. The silence stretched on. Then they spoke once more. "Keep driving." My instinct screamed at me to run, to abandon the vehicle and flee. But when I looked outside, there was nowhere to go. Only endless white fog. No buildings, no lights, nothing. I started moving again. The road continued forward, a single lane disappearing into darkness. Minutes passed, maybe hours. Time stopped making sense. Eventually, a shape emerged ahead, an intersection. My heart nearly stopped. I recognized it immediately. The same intersection from the accident years ago, exactly as it had looked that night. Same traffic signal, same storefronts, same rain-slick pavement, even though those buildings had been demolished years earlier. The passenger leaned forward. I felt cold breath against my ear. "You left before the ambulance arrived." My chest tightened. It was true. I had panicked. I had remained long enough to speak with police, but emotionally, I checked out completely. I never attended the funeral, never learned anything about the victim, never allowed myself to think about it. I buried the guilt, locked it away. The passenger continued. "You forgot." The accusation hurt because it was true. I had forgotten, or convinced myself I had. The intersection ahead glowed under flickering yellow lights. Rain fell steadily. A solitary figure stepped into the crosswalk. The exact moment before impact. The exact scene from years ago. I slammed on the brakes. The car skidded. Everything went white. For a second, I thought I had crashed. Then silence. Complete silence. The fog was gone. The storm was gone. I was parked on the shoulder of a busy avenue. Cars rushed past. Horns blared. Pedestrians filled the sidewalks. The city had returned. Morning sunlight illuminated the skyline. I sat frozen behind the wheel. The back seat was empty. My phone buzzed. The rideshare app was open. A notification filled the screen. Trip completed. No passenger name. No pickup location. No destination. No fare amount. Just those two words. Trip completed. I stared at them for a long time. Eventually, I drove home. I didn't tell anyone. Who would believe me? But curiosity consumed me. A week later, I searched old accident records. After hours of digging, I found the victim's name. Then I found the cemetery. I visited for the first time. The grave was simple, weathered, clearly old, no flowers, no visitors. I stood there for nearly an hour, apologizing, talking to someone who could no longer hear me. Or maybe could. I don't know. Nothing supernatural happened. No voices, no apparitions, just silence. But the weight I'd carried for years felt slightly lighter afterward. I still drive occasionally, not as much as before, and I never work late-night shifts anymore, especially during storms. Sometimes passengers ask why. I always tell them the same thing. I say I've seen enough strange things in this city to last a lifetime. That's true. But there is one detail I never share. 3 months after that night, another storm rolled through. I was sitting at home when my phone buzzed. A notification from the rideshare app. No ride request, no promotion, just a single message, one sentence. The account that sent it no longer exists. The message simply read, "Thank you for finally remembering." I deleted the app that same day, and I have never driven at night since. If you enjoyed tonight's story, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss a new upload. And if you have a creepy story of your own that you'd like featured on Talesthyme, send it to talesthyme@gmail.com. Your story could be next.